April 18th, 1967. Dawn breaks over the red soil of Tai Ninh province just miles from the Cambodian border. Humidity clings to every surface. Mist curls low across the tree line like a living thing. And somewhere beneath that haze, someone is watching. A squad from the 25th Infantry Division advances cautiously along a narrow jungle trail, their boots sinking into mud softened by last night's monsoon shower. Specialist David Rourke, the radio man, adjusts the weight of his PRC-25 set. The soft static of the handset is the only sound that doesn't belong to the jungle. Birds call overhead. Leaves tremble where no wind blows. To anyone listening closely, the forest is too quiet. Sergeant Paul Hennings, a broad-shouldered veteran with 3 combat tours already burned into his nerves, raises a clenched fist-halt signal. The line freezes. Even their breaths seem to pause. You hear that he whispers. Rourke doesn't, but Hennings does. And the Viet Cong certainly do. 40 meters ahead, hidden beneath a woven mesh of leaves and mud, a trap door opens without a sound. A figure in black pajamas, slender, calm, barefoot, emerges from a tunnel mouth no wider than a kitchen sink. This is Trung, a 19-year-old guerrilla fighter of the Cu Chi Regiment. He carries only an SKS carbine and 3 grenades, but he possesses something far deadlier, absolute familiarity with every inch of the battlefield. He lifts a fist toward 2 additional fighters emerging silently behind him. They do not speak. Speech can betray position. Movement must be as fluid and brief as rainfall. The Americans continue down the path, their formation tightening as the trail narrows. Rourke wipes sweat from his brow. The air tastes of wet bark and something metallic, maybe the lingering scent of old shell fragments buried in the soil. Hennings feels the hairs on his arms rise. Something's wrong. He motions for the M60 gunner Private Collins to take the left flank and for the point man to slow his pace. Collins nods, stepping carefully through undergrowth, his finger brushing the safety of the machine gun. But the VC are not on the flanks. They're beneath them. A soft clicking sound echoes from somewhere ahead, a signal. Before Hennings can raise his voice, a burst of SKS rifle fire erupts from the brush. Collins collapses instantly, his machine gun dropping into the mud with a thud drowned by gunfire. The squad scatters for cover, diving behind tree trunks, roots, even their own packs. Rourke hits the ground and rolls, clutching the radio handset. Contact, contact, he shouts into the mouthpiece, but the static swallows his words. The ambush is surgical, 3 seconds of precise, controlled bursts. The guerrillas don't linger. Trung tosses a grenade, the pin pulled with practiced ease. It arcs, once, twice, then lands beside a rotted log where 2 Americans crouch. The explosion rips the morning open. Smoke devours the trail. Leaves rain down like ash. The Americans return fire, wildly desperate to pin down an enemy they cannot see. The jungle magnifies every sound, creating ghosts, rifle cracks, bouncing in places where no rifleman stands. The VC fighters have already vanished from sight. Trung slides feet first into the tunnel entrance, pulling a camouflage mat over the opening. The world above becomes a muffled thud of distant gunfire. Inside the tunnel, light disappears almost immediately, replaced by the warm, earthen smell of clay walls. He navigates by muscle memory, alone. Behind him, the others scatter in pairs, melting into bamboo groves or slipping beneath the dense root systems of towering teak trees. Within 15 seconds, the entire attack force has disappeared. Back on the surface, Hennings crawls through thick brush, coughing through the smoke. Where are they? He growls, scanning the tree line, the canopy. The ground anywhere, a muzzle flash might reveal itself. But there's nothing. No enemy silhouettes. No fleeing footsteps, just the echo of a jungle returning to silence, as if the gunfight never happened. He curses under his breath and signals the squad to regroup. Collins lies motionless. 2 others groan in pain. Rourke finally reaches higher command on the radio and reports ambush. Unknown numbers. They came out of nowhere. But headquarters already knows what Hennings is beginning to understand. This is hit-and-run guerrilla warfare, Vietnam's invisible blade, and this ambush is only the beginning. The air still trembles from the blast when Sergeant Hennings forces himself upright, wiping grit from his eyes. Smoke drifts low across the shredded undergrowth, curling around the shattered trees like the jungle exhaling after a moment of violence. He scans for movement, for any sign of the enemy, but all he sees are shifting shadows and the twitch of leaves stirred by the dying shock wave. Eyes up, he growls, though his men hardly need the reminder. They form a tight circle, weapons outward, hearts hammering. The jungle, moments ago a cathedral of birdsong, now feels like a living predator, watching them from every direction. Rourke kneels beside the radio, breath ragged. "They were right here," he mutters. "Right here." Hennings doesn't reply. He steps carefully toward the point of contact, his boots sinking into churned mud marked by footprints so light they barely dent the earth. The VC fighters moved like ghosts, quick, deliberate, and already gone. Then he sees it, a faint patch of disturbed leaves, too orderly to be natural. He crouches, brushing his fingers across the ground. A circular outline reveals itself beneath the debris. A tunnel entrance. Collins, bring the probe. But Collins is gone. The weight of that realization presses thick and heavy. Another man steps forward instead, trembling slightly as he extends the barrel of his rifle toward the hidden hatch. Nothing moves. No sound echoes from below. It looks like an entrance to another world, a world the Americans do not understand, one they have stumbled into blind. Hennings's jaw tightens. They're underground. They took the shot and disappeared. Rourke swallows hard. How far could they go down there? Farther than we can follow. Deep below, Trung crawls through the narrow passage, gripping a small torch whose flame flickers against clay walls reinforced with bamboo ribs. His breath is steady, though adrenaline still hangs sharp in his chest. He knows the Americans will search, maybe even bring in engineers or flamethrower teams later. But by then, the unit will be gone, distributed through dozens of branching tunnels that twist beneath the region like veins. He pauses at a junction where two younger fighters wait wide-eyed but confident. One holds a captured American compass taken months earlier. Another clutches a satchel of rice and ammunition. They nod to Trung, silently awaiting instructions. He raises 3 fingers. 3 minutes until relocation. The trio crawls deeper into the labyrinth, their movements precise, rehearsed children of a subterranean world crafted for hit-and-run warfare. Above them, the enemy gropes blindly through a forest that belongs to someone else. Back on the surface, Hennings signals his squad to expand their perimeter. They step carefully, avoiding pressure points disguised as roots or stones. Everyone knows a misstep could trigger punji stakes or a buried mine. Even the air feels hostile, every rustle a threat. A distant thump makes them spin, yet it's only a monkey leaping through the branches. "This place is messed up," one soldier mutters, voice tight. "It's their home," Hennings answers. "Not ours." Minutes pass. The ground team from base radios and promising reinforcements, dogs and engineers. But Hennings knows it won't matter. The Viet Cong aren't waiting around. Rourke suddenly lifts the radio again. Sarge, movement 2 o'clock. The squad pivots, rifles up, but the jungle shows only a flicker of black fabric far down the tree line. They're then gone. A decoy. A lure. A taunt. Hennings clenches his teeth. He's beginning to realize the pattern: hit fast, disappear faster. Every second spent reacting is a second the enemy spends slipping away into terrain that bends to their will. He kneels again by the tunnel entrance, feeling the cool air drifting upward like the breath of the earth itself. They're moving under us. While we're stuck topside, they've got highways under our boots. Rourke shivers. "So what do we do?" Hennings stands gripping his M16. "We keep moving, carefully, and we pray we're not already walking into their next trap. Because in this place, the fight is never over. It just relocates." The jungle seems to inhale again as the squad pushes forward deeper into the green maze that swallows sound and light. Sweat slicks every face, every weapon, every strap of gear. The monsoon-thick air turns each breath into work, but no one dares complain, not with the fresh memory of Collins' machine gun lying silent behind them. Sergeant Hennings points ahead with 2 fingers. The squad forms a staggered column, boots sinking into layers of fallen leaves. They advance with the cautious rhythm of men convinced every step might be their last. Above them, the canopy forms an emerald ceiling, its shadows shifting like the hands of some unseen puppeteer. "Watch the ground," Hennings murmurs. "Watch the trees. Watch everything." Rourke, still rattled, but determined, keeps the radio close, as if it were a lifeline. The static seems louder now, like whispering voices trying to warn him. Every snapped twig makes him flinch. They follow faint traces the Viet Cong left behind, almost too faint as though meant to be found. A bent reed here, a disturbed fern there. Hennings studies each sign with a hunter's intuition, but a growing unease churns within him. "These aren't mistakes," he mutters. "They're breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs to what one soldier whispers." Hennings doesn't answer. He doesn't have to. Everyone senses the trap's jaws waiting somewhere ahead. Meanwhile, beneath their boots, Trung leads his small unit through the tunnel network. He counts his steps, silently navigating by touch and memory. The glow of his torch flickers faintly, revealing branching passages carved over years, some leading to weapon caches, others to hidden firing lanes or underwater exit points. They reach a narrow chamber where several guerrillas sit in a circle around a small map drawn directly onto the packed clay. A commander, an older man named Bao, looks up. He smiles faintly when he sees Trung. "Did the strike land?" Trung nods once. Bao's smile widens. "Good. Then we prepare the next position." He taps the map. The Americans are moving exactly where they want them. Back above, the squad pauses at a clearing where sunlight breaks through the canopy in shimmering columns. It should feel peaceful. It doesn't. The silence presses too heavily on their ears. Hennings raises a fist freeze. Rourke swallows hard. He hears it too, not the silence, but what breaks it. A single distant crack, sharp and unmistakable. A gunshot, not at them, not near them, somewhere ahead. "Someone's guiding us," Hennings says under his breath. "Trying to pull us in." Another crack, then a burst, 3 shots in rapid rhythm. The squad huddles behind trees, breath tight with anticipation. "Could be another American team," a soldier suggests. Rourke shakes his head. "If they were friendly, we'd hear chatter on the net." The gunfire stops abruptly. A few seconds pass. Then a shrill whistle pierces the air, echoing off the trees. Short, high, intentional. Trung hears the same signal from beneath. It's the call to reposition. The Americans are entering phase 2 of the trap. He signals his group, and they begin crawling toward an exit shaft that leads to a camouflaged foxhole system overlooking the next choke point. Above ground, Hennings grits his teeth. "We keep moving, but not in a straight line. They want straight lines." The squad shifts formation, weaving carefully through the dense foliage. Leaves brush their uniforms. Insects cling to their skin. The smell of wet earth grows stronger as they descend a slight slope toward a stream bed. Suddenly, Rourke stops. "Something's wrong," he whispers. Hennings crouches beside him. "What do you see?" Rourke points at the mud beside the bank. A footprint, small, bare, recent, and facing the wrong direction. Whoever made it wasn't fleeing. They were waiting. Hennings' stomach knots. We're walking right into them. As he stands to signal a halt, a rustling sound snaps through the brush to their left. Not loud, not panicked. Controlled. A shadow flickers behind a tree trunk. The enemy is no longer just guiding them. They're closing in. Silently, methodically. The squad tightens their grip on their weapons as the jungle draws a breath, preparing for violence once again. The rustling stops as abruptly as it began. Every rifle in the squad swings toward the noise fingers tightening near triggers. But nothing more moves. The jungle stands impossibly still. Hennings slowly raises 2 fingers, signaling his men to spread out and take cover. They peel off into staggered positions behind tree trunks and boulders, hearts slamming against their chests. Rourke kneels beside a cluster of bamboo, trying to steady his breathing as he adjusts the radio antenna to catch even the faintest signal. Somewhere ahead, a single bird shrieks and darts into the air. A cue. A warning. Then it happens. A burst of AK-47 fire erupts from the tree line, ripping through leaves and branches. The rounds chew into the ground around the Americans. They dive for cover as the forest erupts in chaos. "Contact front 2 o'clock!" Hennings roars. He fires controlled bursts toward the muzzle flashes flickering between the trees. But each flash appears for only an instant there and gone like sparks from flint. The Viet Cong aren't firing to kill. They're firing to herd. A second volley snaps from the left flank, bullets slicing past Rourke's head. He hits the dirt and shouts coordinates into the handset. The static swallows most of his words, but he keeps calling. Another whistle pierces the airs, longer this time, rising, then falling. A signal for reposition. Trung hears the same whistle overhead as he climbs the narrow ladder of roots leading up to the foxhole. He emerges behind a low berm camouflaged with ferns. His team is already in place, 6 fighters spaced evenly along the ridge, each with a clear field of fire over the stream bed below. Bao crouches beside him. "The Americans will take the bank for cover." They always do. Trung nods. They've studied U.S. patterns, find cover return, fire flank advance. Predictability is a weapon the Viet Cong wield ruthlessly. Above, the Americans scramble down the slope toward the stream bed, believing the lower ground will shield them from incoming rounds. Mud splashes beneath their boots as they take cover behind rocks and roots. Rourke hits the bank hard, gripping his radio. "Hennings, they're pushing us in." Hennings doesn't answer immediately. He's too busy dragging a wounded private toward a tree stump that offers a thin veil of protection. The soldier groans, clutching his shoulder as blood seeps through his uniform. "Stay with me," Hennings urges, though he knows the real danger is still ahead. He looks up and sees it. Movement shapes in the foliage along the ridge. Down he bellows. A rain of grenades arcs from above, landing with soft thuds in the mud around the squad. The forest explodes in fire and dirt. The blast knocks Rourke onto his back, the radio skidding into the water. His ears ring violently, the world spinning in bursts of color and light. He tries to rise, but the shockwave forces him down again. Trung watches the explosions ripple across the stream bed. The Americans scatter, disoriented, struggling to find the source. "Shift positions," Bao orders. The guerrillas vanish backward into pre-dug crawl trenches leading deeper into the brush. They've already abandoned the ridge. By the time the Americans return fire, the foxholes sit empty, smoking, silent. Hennings wipes blood from his forehead and forces himself up. The blasts have carved deep wounds into the earth, uprooting saplings and filling the air with pulverized bark. He lifts his rifle and fires blindly toward the ridge. But his gut tells him the truth. "They're gone again," he mutters. Rourke crawls to the edge of the water and retrieves the radio, coughing violently. "Sarge, we need air support. Artillery. Something." Hennings shakes his head. "Not yet. If we call fire on the wrong position, we'll do their job for them." The squad regroups, shaken and blistered by the explosions. The wounded moan softly. The living press themselves low, scanning every shadow. The jungle goes quiet once more. Oppressively quiet. Rourke's voice trembles. "Sarge, how do we fight people who aren't even there?" Hennings stares into the foliage, seeing nothing but feeling everything, the eyes watching the invisible hands, setting the next trap. "We don't fight them on their terms," he whispers. "But right now, we don't have any choice." High above in the canopy, a single leaf falls. A sign, a trigger. Because Section 4 isn't the end of the ambush. It's only the midpoint. The fallen leaf spirals, slowly drifting between the rays of sunlight piercing the thick canopy. It seems harmless, just another scrap of the endless jungle shedding its skin. But Hennings has learned the rhythm of danger here. Nothing in Vietnam falls without purpose. "Stay sharp," he mutters. The squad tightens their grip on their rifles. Mud clings to their uniforms, sweat stings their eyes, and the ringing in their ears from the grenade blasts makes it difficult to hear anything but their own heartbeat. Yet beneath that lingering hum, A soft vibration begins to pulse through the soil. Rourke feels it first. "What is that?" he whispers. The ground quivers again like the tremor of feet moving not above, but below. Henning's eyes widen. They're shifting under us. Before he can issue a command, a sharp crack splits the air, a booby trap snapping open. A camouflaged bamboo whip studded with metal fragments lashes upward from the undergrowth. One of the rear soldiers cries out as it rips through his leg. The squad erupts into motion, dragging him back, cutting the vine trigger. Medic Hennings shouts, though he knows the medic is already kneeling beside the wounded man. Above, unseen from the ground, Trung and his fighters move swiftly through the tunnel system. They are guided by pre-measured distances, by the feel of damp clay under their palms, by air currents flowing from hidden vents carved cleverly into tree trunks. Every movement is calculated. Every tunnel leads somewhere with intent. Trung reaches an upward shaft. Bao is already climbing, pulling himself toward daylight filtered through a thin camouflage mat. He lifts the cover slightly, just enough to glimpse the Americans below, clustered near the stream bank as they tend to their wounded. "We strike again," Bao whispers. "Then pull back 3 tunnels." Trung nods. He retrieves 2 grenades from a pouch, holding them delicately as if they were eggs. The simplicity of their mission is always the same: inflict damage, vanish, return later from another angle. He pulls himself into the concealed foxhole, raising 1 grenade over his head. Back below, Rourke scrambles to get the radio functioning. Mud coats the dials. He wipes it clean with trembling hands and adjusts the frequency. Phantom 6. "This is Delta 24. We've walked into layered traps." Requesting. His words cut short as the forest above them erupts. 2 grenades detonate from the overlook, blasting dirt and shockwaves across the squad. The ground heaves. Water from the stream erupts in a muddy fountain. Hennings is thrown backward into a tree, gasping as the wind is knocked from him. Trung doesn't wait to see the aftermath. He drops into the shaft, sealing the camouflaged lid above him. His team surges down the tunnel, boots barely touching the ground as they retreat into the earth. Hennings rolls onto his stomach, ears buzzing. His men are scattered, dazed, bleeding. He forces himself upright, coughing. "Report," he shouts. Voices answer through the haze, some strong, some strained. Rourke waves desperately from behind a toppled log. "Radio's alive. I can call in support now." But when Hennings looks around, his blood runs cold. They're in a bowl, high ridges surrounding them, dense forest overhead, narrow exit points all around. Perfect terrain for guerrillas who own every inch of it. A natural trap. And the tunnels, they could be anywhere beneath the squad. Everyone up, Hennings growls. "We're moving out of this low ground. They want us pinned here." The squad begins climbing the slope, slipping on wet earth, dragging the wounded. Every foot gained feels like a battle against the jungle itself. Roots tear at their boots like claws. Then Rourke freezes. "Sarge, look." Halfway up the slope, embedded in the soil, sits another camouflaged panel almost identical to the tunnel entrance they found earlier. But this one is slightly ajar. A trick, a tease, a message. Hennings grips his rifle, fury rising in his chest. They're mocking us. And in a way, they are. The Viet Cong never intended to stay in one location long. Their tunnels twist in every direction, creating a battlefield the Americans cannot map, cannot predict, cannot dominate. The squad reaches the ridgeline, panting heavily. The jungle beyond looks deceptively peaceful. Sunlight drifting lazily through leaves, insects buzzing softly, no sounds of pursuit. But Hennings knows better. "They're repositioning," he says. Setting the next hit. Rourke wipes sweat from his brow. "How can you tell?" Hennings gazes into the undergrowth, jaw tight. "Because if they wanted us dead, we'd already be dead. This is controlled. They're bleeding us slowly. Below them, the tunnel system stirs with movement. Trung and his fighters gather in a new chamber, preparing fresh magazines, checking fuses, studying another hand-drawn map. Bao smiles grimly. "One more strike," he says. "Then we vanish for good. The Americans don't know it yet, but they're approaching the final stage of the hit and run, the decisive blow." The jungle tightens around the squad as they push over the ridgeline, the air thick with heat and dread. The canopy filters sunlight into thin green blades that flicker across their faces. Every leaf seems to whisper. Every branch feels like a pointing finger. Hennings raises his fist again. Halt. No birds, no insects, nothing. A dead silence like this can only mean one thing. They're here, he murmurs. Rourke swallows. The radio crackles faintly in his trembling hands. Reinforcements are still miles out. Too far. The squad is alone. They move forward slowly, boots sinking into soft mulch. The path narrows to a corridor flanked by towering bamboo and dense brush. Perfect for a kill zone. Hennings knows it. Bao knows he knows it, and Trung is already in place. Deep underfoot, the last tunnel snakes upward toward a concealed firing station built with murder in mind. It opens into a bamboo blind crafted to look like part of the forest wall. Through narrow slits, Trung watches the Americans advance, every step measured, every movement cautious. Bao kneels beside him. We strike only once more, then the jungle takes us back. Trung nods, feeling the weight of the moment. He doesn't hate the soldiers above. But this is his land, his fight, his family's survival, carved into the earth with sweat and blood. Above, Hennings senses the trap tightening. His instincts scream. Spread the line. Don't bunch up. Too late. The jungle erupts. Gunfire rips from the bamboo wall, rapid controlled bursts of AK-47 fire. Muzzles flash behind camouflage so perfect it might as well be the forest itself. The first rounds strike a soldier near the rear, spinning him to the ground. Another man dives for cover as bullets chew through the tree beside him. Contact front, multiple, high angle. Hennings roars, bringing his M16 to his shoulder and firing toward the flashes. But firing at the jungle is like shooting into a sheet of painted shadows. The VC hit hard, then instantly reduced their rate of fire. Precise timing, counting seconds. Bao taps Trung's shoulder shift. The guerrillas disappear backward into the darkness of the tunnel, dragging ammunition and weapons behind them. Earth and leaves fall into place, sealing the exit. Within moments, the firing blind sits empty, smoke drifting lazily from its narrow slits. Hennings leads a push forward, bounding from tree to tree. Advance on the position of... But the position is hollow, vacant, a ghost of violence. Rourke reaches the bamboo wall and yanks it aside. Behind it, nothing but a square hole dropping into darkness. A tunnel they cannot enter without crawling. Hennings steps forward, leaning over the entrance. A cool breath of underground air rises to meet him, damp, earthy, mocking. They were just here, Rourke whispers. And now they're gone. Hennings replies. He stands there for a long moment listening. Not for footsteps, not for voices, but for the jungle itself. It is waking again. Birds calling, leaves rustling, life returning to where death just passed. The squad regroups battered and shaken. The wounded lean on their brothers in arms as they begin the difficult march back toward friendly lines. Every step feels heavier. Every sound feels like a reminder of the enemy they could not touch. Rourke walks beside Hennings. Sarge, why'd they leave? They had us. Hennings wipes mud from his cheek and takes a long breath. Because they weren't trying to destroy us, he says quietly. They were trying to show us something. Rourke frowns. Show us what? Hennings scans the jungle one last time. The tunnels beneath the invisible movements, the vanishing fighters. That this isn't our battlefield, he says. It's theirs. And they can take it back whenever they want. Behind them, deep underground, Trung and his unit sit in silence. The last tunnel exit is sealed. The Americans' footsteps fade into the distance. Bao nods approvingly. No more fighting today, he whispers. We live to strike again. Outside, the jungle swallows the world whole as if nothing ever happened. No smoke, no footprints, no voices. Just the endless green breath of Vietnam hiding its ghosts beneath roots and shadows.